Every federally funded and state funded Indian boarding school that existed for 150 years, every one of them were Epstein Islands. Every one of them. Every one of them had children being sexually and physically abused, exploited for labor, tortured, um, forced assimilation and indoctrination. And all of this was about ethnic cleansing. It was genocide. By definition, it was genocide. And we still exist today in a world where none of that's been addressed. We don't address, 100 years of slavery. We don't address 150 years of residential schools. We don't address any of it. Instead, we look at white people who have made their billions and millions and say, oh, look, they lifted themselves up by their bootstraps. Well, I got to tell you, we didn't have bootstraps. So this is the world that we live in. And that's why, as a Native person, I'm trying to say, if you don't understand what was done to us, then you're not really understanding what was done and what is being done to you. Yeah, it was big news because 2 white folks got murdered by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Well, I got to tell you, we've had our people murdered for centuries. Oh, everybody's real concerned about Savannah Guthrie's mom being missing. There are 4,000, 5,000 Native women missing every year that never get investigated. Remember Gabby Patino, the pretty little blonde girl who was our podcast on travel? When she was missing, just like with this Guthrie case, it was 24/7. Every day it was in the news. There were at least a half a dozen Native women who were rendered missing from the same area that Gabby Patino was taken from when she was murdered. But you never saw any of that because nobody cared. But take a wealthy white woman, regardless of age, elderly in this case of Savannah Guthrie's mom, and I do feel bad for her. I felt bad for Gabby Patino. But what makes it tough is that when you realize what's happening to people of color, not just Native people, there are black girls that are turned up missing every single day that nobody ever hears about, nobody ever reads about. There are Native people. Native people are disproportionately victims of sexual abuse, sex trafficking, and murder. That's just a matter of fact. Those are the numbers speak for themselves. And you're not going to get the news cycle covering any Native person missing like you're seeing with this Guthrie case or the Patino case. So my message to people is that we have to do more. Justice isn't about whether they catch Savannah Guthrie's mom's kidnapper or not. That's not justice. Because if you catch that kidnapper, and if she is lucky enough to survive this ordeal, that's not justice. Because at the same time, in this same period of 2 weeks that have transpired, dozens of Native women have been rendered missing that nobody cares about. So this is why I do what I do. I try to put some perspective here. Now, I mean, the fact that I can name Gabby Patino still to this day shows you how much that name was drilled into my head during the period of time that she was missing and then discovered murdered. That's how much it was driven into my head. The fact that Guthrie's name can just roll off my lips is because that's how much it's being driven in my head. But honestly, as I sit here, even as a Native person, I could have looked it up, and I probably should have, out of respect. But I can't name the half dozen or dozen or several dozen Native women who turned up missing during that same period of time, or who've turned up missing in the last couple of weeks. That's sad. I mean, and I feel bad for that. And perhaps on a later show, I'll create a list.